moment this evening, I thought it was appropriate to ask that we never forget the events of 9/11, the sacrifices of so many, some here in our community, and let us always continue to teach our children about what happened that day. Let's have a moment of silence. Thank you. And now let us please join the board in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So we're right to the special actions, and at this point I would like Police Chief John Hearn to do our special items.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. During tonight's Newtown Township Board of Supervisors meeting, we will be swearing in our newest township police officer and recognizing 4 of our department members who are being promoted to various ranks within the organization. What you are not seeing here tonight is prior to this meeting, I had the privilege of recognizing numerous officers for their outstanding public service thus far in 2023 and issuing formal commendations to them, which included 2 for commendatory actions involving a known felon who threatened to shoot another township resident, 3 for life-saving events where 2 individuals were revived and successfully survived the incident, 3 for valor after shots were fired by an armed subject, 2 members for 20 years of completed service, and 2 members for 25 years of completed service. We obviously have a very dedicated team of officers. I would like to personally thank the Board of Supervisors and the Township Management Team for their constant support and dedication in recognizing the importance of public safety in this community. As you are aware, we are an accredited police agency, always seeking to be progressive and lead from the front. Whether it's a response to a major incident or just minor calls for service and quality of life issues, our members will respond. The professionalism of your department is dependent upon your continued support, and I appreciate all that you provide, and I thank you. I would now like to publicly congratulate our newest officer and the below-seasoned officers on their well-deserved promotions. You deserve this. But always remember, none of us can do it without our families. So I'd also like to thank all the families, both in attendance here tonight and at home, as they sacrifice greatly for the duties that you all perform on a routine basis. Nights, holidays, weekends, missed family events, the long hours, the extended tours, and the constant fear of the unknown encounter. We couldn't do what we do every day of the week without the family support, so thank you to the families. Finally, to our swearing in, I would like to thank Judge Mick Petrucci and invite him up to conduct our oath of offices. I would ask you all, at least until each ceremony or each promotion is done, to hold your applause until the end. All right, so at first, Police Officer Robert Gergel, front and center, please. Robert Gergel graduated in Shawnee High School in 2018 and obtained a bachelor and associate's degree in criminal justice from the Bucks County Community College in 2020. Bob graduated Temple Police Academy in October 2021 and has been employed as a part-time police officer with the Yardley Borough Police Department since September of 2022. That's where I stole him from. I personally spoke with Chief Kelly, who had high praise for Bob, and so based on his pre-employment background investigation and learned information, Robert Gergel becomes highly recommended and would appear to be well-suited for employment within the Newtown Township Police Department. So Bob, if the judge, Your Honor, who wants to hold your Bible?
evening, everyone. Okay, repeat after me. I, Robert C. Gergel,
I, Robert C. Gergel,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Pennsylvania Constitution,
the Pennsylvania Constitution,
the laws of Pennsylvania,
the laws of Pennsylvania,
and the governmental subdivision
and the governmental subdivision
of Newtown Township,
of Newtown Township,
including those otherwise
including those otherwise
contracted by a law enforcement services agreement,
contracted by a law enforcement services agreement,
and that I will discharge
now discharge
the duties
the duties
as a police officer
as a police officer
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations, officer. Welcome to Newtown Township. Here, want me to hold the Bible? Let me take that back from you.
Now to the promotions. No organization can succeed without the proper training, supervision, policies, and effective leadership. One of the other most important aspects is also selection and recruitment. Each of the promotees this evening was hired nearly 20 years ago by Newtown Township's former Chief of Police, Martin Duffy. Chief Duffy is also here tonight this evening to celebrate their accomplishments. Chief Duffy, where you at? There he is. Each of the below individuals would be promoted this evening have dedicated their lives to protecting and serving the citizens of Newtown and Wrightstown Township. They have committed their lives to our community by their individual and collective actions. They provide and support their families and to each other through their commitments. Their initial oath of office has been honored, and it is a testament to who they are, who they represent, and the professional manner in which they act. I would ask that former Chief Martin Duffy come to the podium to stand with me for the administration of the oath, please. As the current chief, I am proud to represent this agency today and continue the previous traditions established, as just as proud to announce the names of the 2023 Newtown Township Police promotees. Thanks for picking them, buddy. Lieutenant Jason Harris, please, front center. Lieutenant Jason Harris was hired by Newtown Township Police Department as a police officer in January 2003 and has served over 20 years with this department. He previously served the Newtown Borough Police Department prior to joining Newtown Township from 1991 to 2003. In 2004, Jason received his first promotion to detective, followed by corporal in 2013, serving in patrol and then detectives. In 2017, he was promoted to sergeant, overseeing criminal investigations and the detective division, followed by being promoted to the rank of lieutenant in 2018 and has excelled at that position. At that time, he also briefly served as the township's interim police chief while a search was conducted for the new chief of police. Jason is certified in emergency management, fire investigations, fire and rescue operations. He is both an EMT and hazmat operations certified. Jason is a graduate of Northwestern University School Police Staff and Command and the FBI Law Enforcement Executive Development Program. Jason is married to his wife, Teresa, and their 4 children, and today he's been promoted to the rank of captain. Congratulations, Jay.
You ready? I, Jason A. Harris,
I, Jason A. Harris,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Pennsylvania Constitution,
the Pennsylvania Constitution,
the laws of Pennsylvania,
the laws of Pennsylvania,
and the governmental subdivision
and the governmental subdivision
of Newtown Township,
of Newtown Township,
including those
including those
otherwise contracted
otherwise contracted
by a law enforcement services agreement,
a law enforcement services agreement,
and that I will discharge
and that I will discharge
the duties
the duties
as a captain
as a captain
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations, Captain. Welcome. Congrats. Here, I'll take that. Yeah, take your picture.
Next promotion, Sergeant Christian Joseph. Chris was hired at the Newtown Township Police Department as a police officer in February 2006, and he has served over 17 years with the Newtown Township Police Department. Chris worked as a police officer for Northampton Township from 2002 to 2006. That's when Newtown stole him, right? Good job, buddy. He was also previously a part-time officer in New Hope Borough. Chris was promoted to the rank of corporal in 2012 and then sergeant in 2017, serving all those years in the patrol division. Chris is certified as a field training officer, an honor guard member, basic action investigations. He has a master's degree and a graduate of the Northwestern University School Police and Staffing Command and the FBI LEADER program. Chris is married to his wife Kelly and has 3 children. Today he's being promoted to the rank of police lieutenant. Congratulations, Chris.
Are you ready? Are you guys all ready? I, Christian B. Joseph,
I, Christian B. Joseph,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Pennsylvania Constitution,
the Pennsylvania Constitution,
the laws of Pennsylvania,
the laws of Pennsylvania,
and the governmental subdivision
and the governmental subdivision
of Newtown Township,
of Newtown Township,
including those
including those
otherwise contracted
otherwise contracted
by a law enforcement services agreement,
by a law enforcement services agreement,
and that I will discharge
and that I will discharge
the duties
the duties
as a lieutenant
as a lieutenant
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations, Lieutenant. Wish you the best. Congrats. Well, congratulations. Good job.
Our next promotee this evening, Corporal Paul Deppy, front and center, please. Paul was hired by Newtown Township Police Officer in October 1998. He was previously promoted to corporal in 2012. Paul was a field training officer, major incident response training supervisor, a certified motor carrier safety inspector, including hazmat and school bus certifications. He's trained in international police mountain bike operation, as well as a baton instructor for the police department. Paul is an EMT and the township's coordinator for our Newtown's Coffee with a Cop and Shop with a Cop community programs. Paul is also a graduate of Northwestern School Staff and Command, and he is married to his wife Bethany and his 3 young girls. Today, he is being promoted to the rank of sergeant. Congratulations, Paul.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you sure? I, Paul J. Deppy,
I, Paul J. Deppy,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Pennsylvania Constitution,
the Pennsylvania Constitution,
the laws of Pennsylvania,
the laws of Pennsylvania,
and the governmental subdivision
and the governmental subdivision
of Newtown Township,
of Newtown Township,
including those
including those
otherwise contracted
otherwise contracted
by a law enforcement services agreement,
by a law enforcement services agreement,
and that I will discharge
and I will discharge
the duties
the duties
as a sergeant
as a sergeant
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations, Sergeant. Congrats. That's all.
Our final promotee tonight is Police Officer Thomas Rawa. Front and center, please. Tom was hired as a Newtown Township Police Officer in January 2002. He previously served as a Newtown Township Borough Officer prior to joining Newtown Township from 1999 to 2002. Tom is also a field training officer, and he has provided the necessary critical training to all of the most recently hired Newtown Township police officers in this department. Tom has an associate's degree from Montgomery County Community College. Tom always has a sense of humor and a dedication to serving this community. Tom is married to his wife, Christy, and has 3 children. Today, Tom is being promoted to the rank of corporal. Congratulations, brother.
I, Thomas Rawa Jr.,
I, Thomas Rawa Jr.,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the United States,
of the United States,
the Pennsylvania Constitution,
the Pennsylvania Constitution,
the laws of Pennsylvania,
the laws of Pennsylvania,
and the governmental
and the governmental
subdivision
subdivision
of Newtown Township,
of Newtown Township,
including those
including those
otherwise contracted
otherwise contracted
by a law enforcement
by a law enforcement
services agreement,
services agreement,
and that I
and that I
will discharge
will discharge
the duties
the duties
as a corporal
as a corporal
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations, Corporal.
Chief Duffy, if they don't work out, it's your fault. Thank you. You can have a seat. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Thank you. Once again, thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members, for your support. This concludes our promotion ceremony for the police department. Thank you very much for your assistance.
Thank you. Before we go, I'd just like to express my congratulations and the township's congratulations to all the officers involved. And we'd like to welcome Officer Gurgle, and thanks to all of you for what you do to make this community a great place to live. Thank you. At this time, we're going to take a break from our order, and if there's some pictures we'd like to take, or people would just like this opportunity to leave, they can take it. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Okay. That was definitely a pleasant diversion this evening. And more than a diversion. Okay, that brings us to our first round of public comment. If there's public comment, anyone in the audience, please come forward, state your name and where you live in Newtown, and
Good evening. I'm Terry Christensen. I live at 67 Kirkwood Drive in Newtown. I also serve as chair of the board of directors of Friends Village. I want to take this opportunity to publicly thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to thank our engineer for coming out to see our concerns about access for our residents to the Darlington Road Trail and explain to us what our options were for moving forward to improving that access. I really appreciate the time and effort that you and your engineer put in, so thank you very much.
you're welcome. Anyone else? Let me check my agenda. And I think we're to minor approvals. And with that, and our minor approval item is consider authorizing the Township Secretary to sign the First Amendment deed restriction for 131 Richborough Road.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a matter that was requested of the township by Dr. Cecchio. If I'm mispronouncing that, I apologize. But this was a deed restriction that was filed, recorded back in 2000, during which Dr. Cecchio was setting up a dental practice on his property, and instead of allowing the property to be subdivided, the property was deed restricted to prevent any subdivision of the property while Dr. Cecchio had his dentist's office on that property. He is here this evening with his counsel, Mr. Fenningham. I think we should probably have them at least come to the podium and maybe speak to the reasons for this particular consideration for the board tonight and what the reasons are associated with that.
Thank you. Could you turn your microphone on?
That's it? Good. Good evening. I'm John Fenningham, and Dr. Cecchio is with me here. So we initiated this request because that deed restriction, as Dave mentioned, allows for it to be amended upon agreement between the township and the doctor. The doctor wishes to discontinue his home occupation, the dental office, and when he does that, he asks that that deed restriction related to the home occupation be extinguished. So I worked with Dave to develop this draft, the First Amendment. We both reviewed it and approved it as to form. When the home occupation is discontinued permanently, then we'll create a extinguishment of deed restriction. We'll be back to you and ask for approval to have that extinguishment document signed by both parties, and that would be recorded to terminate the 2000 deed restriction. So your approval of this First Amendment won't terminate the deed restriction. It is dependent upon the doctor actually discontinuing the home occupation.
I do have a question. So the action of giving up the dental practice will then trigger the amendment.
The extinguishment of the deed restriction.
And at that time, then you'd extinguish.
Yeah, but not automatically. We'll be back with an extinguishment document. And we'll confirm that the home occupation has been discontinued.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, just one question. Is this property considered a mixed-use property? Is it a residence plus a dental office?
I believe it's a residential.
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 It's zone residential, but according to the zoning at the particular time, I could have a home occupation.
Okay. Will it continue that way after it is, the deed restriction
I'm
is?
66.
Well, I mean, someone who may buy it after, if you were to sell it, could they operate
Now,
a?
if I extinguish that, then it would go back to strictly residential.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Any concerns, any concerns from the public? Seeing none, call the question. Those, do we need a motion for this?
Yeah, it would be a motion to authorize the Township Secretary to sign the First Amendment to deed restriction for 131 Richborough Road.
Okay, anybody would like to make that motion? So moved. Motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board or the public? Now I can say, seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor of authorizing our secretary to sign this document, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes. And good luck. All right. Reports of boards, committees, and members. Peggy Driscoll is here. Ms.
Hi.
Driscoll, good evening.
Good evening, Peggy Driscoll, Chair of the Township Planning Commission. To give you a synopsis of our August 15th meeting, the first item on our agenda was a JMZO amendment to the jointure agreement. This addendum removes reference to the Joint Planning Commission, which has not met in many years and has been absorbed into the Joint Zoning Council. The addendum also clarifies that each municipality is entitled to only one vote, regardless of the number of members in attendance. Representatives of the same municipality cannot make and second motions. The commission voted to recommend that the Board of Supervisors adopt this amendment number 9, which I believe you have a copy of. Next on our agenda was the corners at Newtown text amendment. Representatives of BET Investments were in attendance to review their request for a text amendment to the JMZO to include a new use, parking core apartment building. This use would be permitted in the TC Town Commercial Zoning District. The plan includes a large apartment building with 120 apartments and amenities surrounding a parking garage for residents at Richborough Road, Sycamore Street, and Cambridge Lane. The building would be 45 feet in height and over 200 feet in length. We stress that the property is in the historic district and would need to be approved by HARB for design elements if it were supported. The commission had concerns about the proposed density in such close proximity to the borough's apartment complex called Steepleview and the impact on traffic and stormwater management. A number of members were supportive of the concept of rental apartments to attract more young professionals to remain in Newtown. BET will return when they have had a chance to address some of the commission's concerns. Next, we had the revised zoning for the LI-OLI zoning district. The commission reviewed the final draft of the rezoning ordinance for the LI-OLI zoning district. The changes reflect all of the commission's requests, including some changes to permitted uses and the development of a new mixed-use apartments. The apartments will be limited to 20 per acre with a 5-acre minimum lot size. The commercial use can be located either within the apartment building on the lower floors or can be a freestanding building on the same parcel. Since the project began over a year ago, the key changes has been to eliminate the concept of an overlay district and instead make the amendment apply to the entire LI-OLI zoning district. The commission voted to recommend that the board approve this amendment and forward it to the jointure for its approval. And that was all we had. Any questions? I'll try to answer.
Any questions for Peggy? Go ahead, Mr.
If you don't mind,
Mr.
I have a
Mack.
question. At a recent meeting with some residents, we talked about this development, and one resident had an interesting concern. And
Which development?
the corners at Newtown.
Okay.
And he was talking about the parking garage. I mean, I don't know if he understood the concept but he was talking about whether the land can support the weight of the garage. Now, I don't know anything about this. It's the first time I'm hearing about, weight of a building might be a potential problem. But I know you're asking Met to come back and answer to some of your questions. And I believe also you had some wish to have a traffic impact study as well.
You attended the meeting. We have a lot of concerns about that proposed development. The members weren't opposed to the concept of apartments, and we do have a garden apartment ordinance in the township. Right behind there is Cambridge Place, which is, I believe, maybe 150 apartments back there. What they are proposing, let me get my glasses on here. What they did was they crafted an ordinance that is everything that they want. We do have garden apartments. They are permitted. We're concerned about, the density of this structure is 8 times more than what is permitted anywhere else in the township. The height, they're proposing the height, the length, I got so many notes on here.
I know you had a lot, you discussed a lot of
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah.
But I don't think you discussed the weight of the garage with all the
No.
cars in there and so on. And this resident was suggesting that some kind of engineering study be done
Oh, absolutely.
to make sure that the land can support such a structure. Now, I don't know if this developer has done something very similar somewhere else, but, maybe that's something that the commission might be interested in learning more about in terms of the engineering involved in creating a garage core apartment building, which is what they want to do. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. That's
Well, we had a meeting, I attended a HARB meeting. I'm also on the HARB board, and this proposal would have to pass all HARB stipulations too and go through all HARB approvals. And one of our members on HARB is an architect, and he said this is what they call a precast parking garage. I don't know if that means that it's, brought into the site in sections and constructed. I'm not sure how that goes. But one of our concerns there is the density, the height of the buildings, the access in and out on Sycamore. And one thing we have to consider too is what is happening right across the street in the borough. They're proposing at least 100 apartments behind the Starbucks, which is pretty much across the street from this. There's so many concerns there. They haven't done a traffic study. They haven't addressed fire lanes, where they would be. Everything, their height, their length, it's just so intense. I don't know if that's what we want for the TC district. What is permitted there, I believe, is maybe 60 apartments. I believe the original plan was 180, and they came down to 120. But I think it's, Sycamore Street is a 2-lane road. I don't think it can absorb all of this.
This is just a concept plan at this point, right?
Yeah.
They haven't done any full engineering or anything?
No. I think, they just came in and of course their ordinance is everything that they want. We have, our feeling on planning is build as, we have garden apartments, you are permitted to build there. And I asked the representatives, apparently they bought this property 3 years ago and it's been empty for a long time. And they should develop it as what is permitted in the township. These developers coming in and they're just, what they're proposing is just ridiculous. We have no traffic study done. The parking, it's not enough parking even with the garage. What kind of impact is it going to have on the school district? There's so many questions.
Yep. I had questions related to one or two of the other items on the agenda, on the report, on the synopsis. The one was the the jointer agreement. So you're recommending that we go ahead and pass that, and I just wanted to
Yes.
alert the board that that's probably going to be on one of our next agendas. So make sure.
Yeah, the
you-
Joint Planning Commission hasn't met in many years, and
Yeah,
the jointure meetings, monthly meetings, pretty much address everything,
yes,
and there really isn't a need for
right.
both of them.
It brings it up to date. And the other one was, the other question is not about anything on the agenda, or on the synopsis. There are a couple other jointure ordinances that are still in the pipeline. I was wondering if expansion, one of them is an expansion of non-conforming structures for height. That's something that's coming out of Wrightstown. I was wondering if that's something that will be put on a planning commission agenda in the near future.
I'm not sure.
I'll work with the manager and with the solicitor.
I mean, is that something that the Planning Commission should review? Yes? And
Oh,
Jerry's shaking his head back there, so.
When it comes to us from Wrightstown,
Okay.
you will review it, absolutely. Just like any other JMZO amendment.
And also, I want to add, this proposed ordinance for BET would also have to be approved by Wrightstown and Upper Makefield Township.
That's correct.
Yes.
I do have a question. You said this, the proposed ordinance, they came and they said, we want our zoning ordinance changed to fit what they wanted?
Well, they
Yeah.
they have created an ordinance for us to adopt.
It was an application for
A
a
text
text
amendment.
amendment to the zoning ordinance. If we had our own zoning ordinance, a developer or somebody, a property owner could come in and say, I would like to suggest that you change your zoning ordinance to read as follows, and hand us an ordinance. This one happens to affect the jointure, but it's for property located in Newtown. So that's why it's filed with Newtown and starting here for review by the Planning Commission. And that's what they've been doing. It has not been recommended out of Planning Commission yet to the board. It has not been recommended by the board to go to the jointure for consideration. It's a long process, but yes, they applied for a text amendment rather than filing a curative amendment challenge.
So it sounds like spot zoning. It's not like the same thing.
Not necessarily. I don't think they're going to, they're not asking to change the zoning. I think they're asking to add a use to existing zoning, and that's the amendment that they're proposing. It's not spot zoning.
And we do, like I've said, we have an ordinance for apartments. And, I mean, our feeling in planning is if you want to come, you want to build what's permitted there. I mean, also, it's in our historic district. It's, you know, I think with everything going on in the borough, I don't know if our roads can even handle it. Well, they haven't done a traffic study.
Absolutely, a lot of concerns.
A lot.
Not to beat a dead horse, sorry, I just have another question. So all the parking for this that they're proposing is in a garage in the middle?
In the garage, yeah, and
For, what, I think you said 120 units?
120 units, and I think they're proposing 1.3 spaces per unit.
I thought it was 1.5, but
Or 1.5, I don't know who has
Same
half a car to
difference.
park.
I think to have half a car saves the environment, I think is what they're saying.
You know, and then we, the impervious, I mean, the stormwater management would be massive there.
Yep.
That's a lot.
Anything else?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Calabro, certainly.
In regards to the, I guess, the revised zoning for the LI, OLI, a different aspect of apartments. 20 per acre on a 5 acre, so we're talking about 100 apartments on that 5 acre lot. Is there any kind of restriction? I mean, let's just backtrack to this person who wants to build 120 apartments. Could that developer buy multiple 5 acre lots within that zoning area?
No.
And, no? Okay, but can there
No.
be multiple apartment complexes with 100
on separate lots.
Yeah.
I'm looking to Jerry over there and size available. I think there are 2 left in there. You know, what we're trying to do is, apparently everybody thinks that we don't provide enough apartments, and we think the LI district is a good place for it, and we're trying to, you know, revitalize that in there. There are some businesses coming back in there and some new developments going in there, so.
No, because we've had a couple developers come in the past that want to build like 200 apartment units in a particular area. I'm just wondering if they were to basically divide their efforts into a couple different complexes.
Parcels, yeah.
If that was possible, provided that they're available. If they're not available, I guess, you know, it's not
Right.
going to happen. The other thing is there going to be any kind of height restriction on these?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have height and, you know, setback, side, front, all that.
Okay. And again, this is just in the early process.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had anybody come in and ask or, you know, present anything to planning yet. I guess we're trying to get a little ahead and provide apartments.
Okay.
Apparently, everybody seems to think we need a lot of apartments all of a sudden here.
Just one more comment. Another resident was calling me complaining, not complaining, wondering about the sale of certain property on the edge of the zone owned by, I forget, it's a law school property?
Law school admissions, yeah.
What is that?
Law school admissions.
And they said that property is for sale, and I guess it's a larger building there?
It's right across from the Octagon building, that one, the big one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So something like that could become an apartment building, I guess, if this were something that we changed the zoning with stores on the ground floor, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And just for your information, I mean, I did read an article in the New York Times, don't shoot me, but they were saying how mixed-use apartments are having problems in big cities like San Francisco and New York, where there's a lot of problems with businesses not going out of business. And they were saying once you have an empty storefront on the ground level, it just stands out and it makes it harder to get other businesses to come in. I don't know if this is something that would happen in Newtown, but I think that the Planning Commission should look at that article and see what there's a new thinking about mixed use, whether it's really a good idea or not. Just saying.
Yeah, John, I have to agree with you because I think with COVID, a lot of things have changed with people working from their homes and even online businesses. I mean, we all buy stuff from Amazon and Target and everything like that, so it's tough for mixed use. Unless, of course, it's a good pizzeria or deli, then we're okay with that.
Well, you know, we have the promenade on Sycamore Street, and that's a mixed use, and that's worked out well. And they did, even though they weren't they're on Sycamore Street, but not in the historic district, they did work with Harb and the township, and I think there are 24 apartments up there, and the retail on the bottom, and it's been successful. So I'm sure they'll be back, and we'll do some more reviews when they come back.
Thank you. Anything more? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Christian.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. We kept you a long time tonight. All right, board member comments. I have 5 short reports here. One is and forgive me if I intrude on anyone's space. First is the Newtown Fire Association. I attended their meeting last week, along with Ms. Snyder, and the Fire Services Committee was last Thursday. We've been discussing exploring ways to bridge from our current status of part-time volunteers and part-time staff. Not part-time staff, full-time staff, but breaking up days between volunteers and staff. And both the NFA and Newtown Emergency Services have acknowledged the decline in the availability of volunteers. And it's going to become a problem more and more, and this is something that's happened across the Commonwealth, across the county, across the nation. Recently read that years ago in the mid-90s or earlier mid-80s, that there were 300,000 volunteer firemen in the nation, in Pennsylvania. And now there's 30,000. So that's a 90% decrease. So we need to address this situation, and I'm sure we will take it head on. The borough is also looking to, if there are differences, increases in what the township spends on fire services, the borough is on notice, and they know that they will be contributing their percentage. Joint municipal zoning, this is my second item. I was late at the meeting, so maybe Ms. Snyder or Mr. Mack, who were there, have something to add. But one of the things that we focused on most of the meeting that I attended was the moving along the different ordinances that are in the pipeline. And that's kind of why I asked the question about the non-conforming structures. So that's what I took away from that meeting. Oh, and we also had a lively discussion about the comprehensive plan and looking at when we can look ahead to adopting it, and what time frame. I think it was already mentioned by our public comment that we did a walkthrough. I've actually done 3 different walkthroughs, walk along the path of Lower Dolington Road to look at the trail. 1 month ago that we reported at our last meeting with Ms. Snyder and I and our engineer and some residents. And then once by myself to check out the loose guardrail. There was a section of guardrail that was loose, just needs 2 bolts. And then recently with Friends Village. So that has occurred. We've been keeping up with correspondence with Newtown Walk neighbors to discuss the design progress of the rapid, I'm going to get this wrong, RRFBs on Newtown Yardley Road. I'm forgetting what one of those R's are. Anyway, then lastly, I attended the Sewer Authority meeting yesterday, the Joint Municipal Sewer Authority for Newtown. We made a request for them to come and speak at a supervisors meeting, probably in all likelihood September 27th, to talk about their long-term plans for a new sewage treatment plant on Silver Lake Road. So that's my report. I turn it over to the vice chairperson.
Well, I want to thank you for taking that tour of the Lower Dolington Road Trail along with Ms. Snyder, and thank the engineers for coming up with the final official punch list of items that need to be addressed that residents have been complaining to me about for several months. There was a deadline of September 8th to do the punch work items, and I'm sorry that our engineer is out sick, and I hope she recovers soon. I don't know what the new deadline is or why they didn't meet the deadline of September 8th. but there's still water pooling on the ADA ramp that in the wintertime will become ice, and it will be non-ADA compliant. And other items like the loose guardrail and so forth. One item that I discussed with Mr. Lewis was a resident wanted to know, I guess it's New Haven up there, Ms. Lewis? There was supposed to be a sidewalk extension to go up to the New Haven development, connect them to the New Haven development to the trail, and that's still part of the sidewalk program that's really focused a lot on the Commons area. I think that's finally going to be moving along, so that would be great, keep some people happy in New Haven. And that's all I have to report.
Ms. Snyder?
Okie dokie. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I as well attended the jointure meeting, the joint municipal zoning meeting. I think you pretty much, the chairman covered pretty much everything we talked about there. We had an EAC environmental meeting Monday night where we had a further discussion of the timeline for a plastics ordinance. I think we'll get into that in the next few months. Fire Services Committee meeting, again, as the chairman said, to address the issue of really finding more firefighters and finding a way to pay for them. It's very important. They also had a great black tie event on last Friday evening, which was very successful, and I think everybody enjoyed themselves, and from what I understand, quite a bit of money was raised, so waiting to hear what that is. Yes, the Sewer Authority meeting was yesterday. I sit on the sewer board, and we are discussing the possibility of building our own facility in the near future. And a public presentation will happen at our next Board of Supervisors meeting, as the chairman said. I think that's it. I think that's it. It was busy. It's been a busy couple weeks with meetings. Thank you.
System down this direction, Mr. Clybo?
I have nothing to report.
Okay. Mr. Davis?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. From the community outreach standpoint, the Newtown Rotary is collecting food for the Wrightstown Food Pantry at McCaffrey's on Saturday, September 23rd, from about 9 to 1, actually 9 to 3. And then the following day, Sunday, September 24th, Newtown Rotary is also having a pancake breakfast with the American Legion Post 440 to raise funds for the Legion and other community-related projects around town. And that's all I have. Thanks.
When's the pancake breakfast?
The pancake breakfast is Sunday, September 24th. Okay. That's from 9 to 1.
9 to 1. Thank you.
Yep.
I like pancakes. All right.
Just to give you a little tip, it's Joe Garvey's running it, so there's going to be fancier things than pancakes, apparently. I think waffles are even an option.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Brings us in, there's no public hearing, no land development, reports of officials. Our engineer is not here, but I hear we have a substitute, a pinch hitter.
Playing the role of Leanna Colubriel tonight will be Dave Zander.
Yes.
I should have announced that at the beginning of the show before the curtain went up, so, okay. One item on the engineer's report this evening, it involves Newtown Middle School, which has long been complete. CKS Engineers performed an inspection and has recommended the approval of Certificate of Completion number 3, which is the final release in this matter. If the board's of a mind, it would be a motion to approve Certificate of Completion number 3 in the amount of $359,042.95 for the Newtown Middle School project as recommended by CKS Engineers.
I'll make the motion.
Yes, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? No questions? Any from the public? All right, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of paying the certificate of completion number 3 for Newtown Middle School, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
And that concludes the engineer's report.
Okay, would you like to segue to the solicitor?
I would love to segue right into the solicitor's report. We have one item on our report this evening, Mr. Chairman. It's a consideration of a request from property owners at 424 Burns Lane. Mr. and Mrs. Sozdov received zoning hearing board approval for an addition and a patio at their property back in October of 2022. And due to unforeseen medical circumstances in their family, they have been unable to begin that project. They have requested an extension of the zoning relief. According to the zoning ordinance, section 1404, this board has the authority to grant extensions of zoning relief. However, you are only permitted to grant one-year extension pursuant to the ordinance. So if the board is of a mind, it would be to grant the request of the owners of 424 Burns Lane for a one-year extension, limited to one-year extension of their zoning approval dated October 7th, 2022.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Thank you. Any questions or discussion from the board? Any from the public? I thank you, Mr. Sander, for letting us know about the only 1 year. Didn't know that. I hope they can get it finished. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of considering the extension of zoning relief for 424 Burns Lane, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
And that concludes our report. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Solicitor. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General fund balance this evening is $7,609,508. Plan expiration is before the board with no action required. We have Chief Hearn again to give us monthly chief's report. Even Chief.
Another person who's been busy this evening.
Yes, sir. Good evening again, board members. August police report, busy month. We documented 1,933 calls for service. We logged just under 23,000 miles on our patrol fleet. We did have 19 arrests and clearances, including a homicide by vehicle on Wrightstown Road, 2 child pornography involving computer crimes, 1 assault and resisting arrest, 2 warrants, 1 for an armed robbery and 1 for a warrant out of the sheriff's office, 4 frauds, 1 violation of Firearms Act, 2 thefts, and 1 protection from abuse, as well as 5 DUI arrests. There were 14 cases referred to detectives. Some included a death investigation, 4 death investigations, including 1 overdose, 3 retail thefts, 3 frauds, a terroristic threat at the school, and 1 indecent assault. 51 traffic crashes, 215 citations were issued, with 300 warnings issued. We had 2 truck enforcement details involving 24 inspections, 10 citations, 17 warnings were issued, 3 vehicles were placed out of service, and 1 vehicle was towed. I mentioned earlier about our accommodations and years of service awards that were issued to my officers under the special action. Under significant events, our body-worn camera program is being rolled out periodically based on training and expertise. And my public service announcements, we have a seasonal part-time employment opportunity for school crossing guards still. Please submit your letter of interest and application to the police department. We have our community classic cars, cops, and coffee event on September 23rd from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Veterans Park. The Bucks County Consortium Police Exam is now open. Deadline to register is October 16th with a test date of October 28th. And finally, schools are back in session, so please use caution when driving, 15 mile an hour through school zones, and yield to the emergency red lights on school buses and ensuring you stop for the safety of our kids. Thank you. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
No questions?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Actually, could I make a comment?
Thank you very much.
I just want to say thank you for all you're doing and that ceremony tonight, all promotions and what your team does. for the township. I don't want to take all the time when all was going on, but since you're up there again, I'll say it now. So thank you, appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Sheriff. Thank you.
Yes, we all do.
I have two other items under my report, Mr. Chairman. First of which is, as we do each year, to purchase rock salt for the winter season through the Bucks County Consortium. Consortium solicits bids from prospective bidders. Last year, the price was $66 a ton, or I'm sorry, $67.76 per ton. This year, the price is $66 per ton. So the motion would be authorization to purchase rock salt through the Bucks County Consortium from Sylvie Concrete Products Incorporated.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. We have any questions from the board?
Did you say the price went down?
Yes, the price decreased.
Interesting.
Yeah, 2/3 of a dollar. Any other questions? Any from the public? Do we have any rock salt left over from last year?
Yes.
Didn't need a whole lot, so that'll help too. Seeing no other questions, I'll call the question. Those in favor of authorizing the purchase of rock salt through the Bucks County Consortium from Sylvie Concrete Products, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Last item under our report, Mr. Chairman, is the authorization to approve the copier lease from Rico. Rico provided us a quote. We decreased the number of copiers by 2 copiers for all departments of the township. This decrease is more than a 20% decrease in cost, savings approximately $16,000 over the course of the lease, which is 5 years. So the appropriate motion would be authorization to approve the copier lease with Rico Incorporated.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second it. Haven't had a chance to move or second anything this evening. Everybody's been so fast. Any questions, comments about the copiers? Did I hear you say we're reducing the number of copiers by 2?
Yes.
That'll help. Any other questions, comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of authorizing the approval of a copier lease with Rico Incorporated, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes our report.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Ms. Snyder, do you have a report on minutes, bills, and others?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of our August 9th, 2023 meeting.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion? Questions? Comments? Any from the board? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the minutes of August 9th, 2023, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
I'd like to make a motion to pay our bills for August 23rd in the amount of $294,394.68.
I have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second it. Any questions about the bills list of August 23rd? Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the bills list of August 23rd, 2023, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the total of interfund transfers for the month of August, or dated August 23rd, in the amount of $295,800 even.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, got a second. I was just making a note to myself. Any questions from the board? Any from the public? All those in favor of paying our approving our interfund transfers for August 23rd, 2023, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
I'd like to make a motion to pay our bills for September 13th in the amount of $667,000, $667,011.58.
Second.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Seeing, any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of paying our bills as listed on the bills list for September 13th, 2023, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-1.
Finally, I'd like to make a motion to approve our interfund transfers for September 13th in the amount of $384,946.87.
Second.
A motion and a second. Have any discussion about the interfund transfers? Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the interfund transfers for September 13th, 2023, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Chair, may I backtrack for a second and ask the manager a question?
I believe that's in order.
Okay, thank you. Just a you mentioned the general fund, $7 million. I mean, that's a hefty amount. Is there any reason why it's so large?
Yeah, we haven't paid several obligations or made the transfers that were in the budget yet to the several other funds that were outlined.
Thank you.
I did notice there were a couple of vehicles on the bills list, or at least partial payments on vehicles.
They're for the police vehicles, and it's for the cabin chassis for the public works vehicle.
And it was coming out of the ARPA fund.
Right, it's coming out of the American Rescue Fund.
I'm glad to see the supply chain maybe is starting to work again. We had to wait. Okay, that brings us to our second round of public comment. Do we have anyone who would like to provide comments for us this evening?
Good evening, John DeApril, Newtown Grant, biggest and the best. I also like to congratulate the police department on their promotions. They're all good guys, and their job gets harder every day. I've mentioned it a few times, you know, with only being a little over 10 miles to the Philadelphia city limits and 15 miles over to Trenton, New Jersey, you know, you're getting that creep coming in, and it gets tougher every day. You look on social media and you see the Karens on there complain about nearly every expenditure the police department has. And, you know, they'd be the first ones to cry if they had something go wrong with them. That's about it. September 15th, 1995, they closed Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. And yours truly and Warren Dallas were employees of the shipyard, and also about the 10,000 other people from Jersey and Delaware County and all that stuff. Government wishes they had it back now because the warships are in bad shape, and we don't know what's going to happen. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeApril. Any other public comment this evening? Any old business? Any new business? All right. No need for an executive session.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection, I will then adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Meeting is adjourned.